Hi there and welcome to this review of the One Way UK Daily Devotionals for the 21st through to the 25th of March, and we're going to be starting chapter 2 of John, ultimately ending up at verse 13. We began on Monday really with a pretty obvious statement, I suppose. Jesus went to the wedding in the Cana of Galilee, and we don't know why he went there. He may have been invited because he was known by the people who were getting married. He might have been invited because they were inviting his mother, and his mother was a widow, and therefore they felt it appropriate to invite her elder son, and therefore his friends went with him as well. We just don't know. But one of the things is, in considering this whole question of a life of action, you and I have places to go, just like Jesus did. And those places are not always the places that we determine. In other words, I'm not talking about holiday time. I'm talking about those places to which our business or our relatives take us, or invitations from friends. And we can look at these situations and think to ourselves, hey, I'm on a mission, or no, I've just got to go to Southend or wherever. And I think it's good if we go everywhere we go with the attitude of God has known this is in my plans, because he knows our comings and goings. It says that. The psalmist said, you know, my coming in and my going out. God knows where we're going, and it could be important and significant in the work of his kingdom who we meet there or what we do. So just stay alert. A life of action means we've got places to go. It doesn't have to be a long way away either. It can just be to the corner shop. You may have that meeting that can change a person's life simply by showing that you care, that you respect them, that you honour them, or whatever. Tuesday, a life of action. We come against here something which is wonderful. It is the best advice ever given by anybody at any time in history to anybody at all. And it's simply what Mary, the mother of Jesus, said after she got what apparently was a rebuff from Jesus. They ran out of wine at the wedding, and Mary says to Jesus, they have no wine. And Jesus said to her, woman, what does your concern have with me? My hour has not yet come. Now that seems to be quite a rebuff. And for all of you children watching this video, as they say, and indeed you older people, don't try that at home. Don't call your mother woman. Not in our culture. It doesn't go down too well. But what we want to really focus on today is what Mary said to the servants. She said to the servants, whatever he says, you do it. Now that is just about the best advice that anybody can receive. When Jesus is around, whatever he says, do it. End of story. Let's move on to Wednesday. Now Wednesday, again, in our life of action, if we've had good advice as part of a life of action, then so is not making excuses. And this is something which was very interesting because, you know, the scene continues to play out, and it's just like a guidebook for those who want to live a life of faith and action with Jesus. Because number one, Jesus took the initiative. It was his decision to use the water pots. You remember the big water pots that were staying there for containing water for purification ceremonies. And he told them to, the servants, to fill them right up with water to the brim. Now the water pots were dedicated to the service of God. As I said, they were to hold water for purification, for ritual purification. Now, the third point is, Jesus commanded, he didn't suggest. He said, fill them. Now let's just run over that again. Jesus took the initiative. Who takes the initiative in our lives? Who takes the main decisions in our lives? Is it Jesus? Do we refer to him? Or do we just carry on hoping that it's going to work out. The water pots, they were dedicated for service to God. What about your puppets, your puppet equipment? What about all our possessions, our vehicles, our homes? Do we dedicate those to the service of God? And then how do we respond to Jesus' commands? Like the servants, not making excuses, just doing it. Okay, Jesus, that's what you want us to do. We'll do it. You see, the last thing we can see is, apart from those three challenges to us, is, do you notice how Jesus is always prepared to use what is at hand? He didn't ship anything in. He used what was already there at the wedding feast to solve the issue of the wine. A life of action. Well, don't be surprised when you're surprised. Because if you run around with Jesus, you really do have to learn not to be surprised when you're surprised. Because you're going to be surprised an awful lot. Just as the master of the feast identified the wine that he was now drinking towards the end of the feast as the best, when in fact what people would do would be to fob off rubbish to people at the end of the feast, because they say, well, they're drunk, they won't know the difference. And of course what he perceived was that the guests at this particular wedding were being treated with real respect, because not only was the wine okay at the beginning, but the best wine was the stuff they had at the end, which was really a great surprise. When Jesus is around, don't be surprised. And by the way, just a little thought about all those people who are concerned about whether mountains and valleys and caves have been created over millennia by slow geomorphic processes, geological processes, or what? Well, I would suggest that if Jesus can create fully mature wine in an instant, I believe that he could create fully formed mountains and valleys in a day, when everything was created through him and for him. Point taken? Let's move on to the last day of the week, Friday. Again, a life of action. And we see, I'll just read you the passage, because it comes from John 12 and John 2, chapter 12. It comes from John 2, verses 12 and 13. After this, he went down to Capernaum, he, his mother, his brothers, and his disciples, and they did not stay there many days. Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now, we can see that he went up to Jerusalem. Preparation is everything in a life of action. And, you know, we've recently been through a very busy period of puppet performances, still in the middle of it. And different venues, different performances, multiple performances during a week. And, you know, not counting rehearsals, more time is going to be spent packing and unpacking our MPVs, sorting puppets, not puppets, sorting puppets, changing props, changing costumes on puppets, making sure we got the right soundtrack for each performance, and in setting up the stage. And more time is going to be taken than in performing. And importantly, we'll need to get in the zone so that each time we do a performance, we actually remember which one we're doing, and so we get in the flow of it, and so the puppet changes and the prop changes can take place smoothly. But once we've finished it, and we've got to forget it, because if we're doing a new one, which is different, then we don't want to be remembering what the old one's like. I remember well in one performance setting up a prop keyboard and realising halfway through the performance we weren't going to use it, because that was in the performance that we were going to do on the following day. So we need to be sharp. In a life of action, we need preparation. We need to take preparation. And what better preparation can there be to pray? So I pray right now you're going to have a really blessed weekend. And I pray that your life of action will prove to be exciting, and it will prove to be one which will be a blessing to those people that you go and minister to, whether through puppets or through any other media. God bless you. I'll see you next week.